Yeah, so can you guys still hear me clearly? I've just started recording. Okay, awesome, awesome. Yeah, so as I was saying earlier, I heard about data science for the first time in school and got interested in data science around between late 2018, early 2019, and I got to attend my first boot camp late 2019. Um, all right, and as I said earlier, like um, what really helped me back then, or how I was able to um, learn about data science was not, of course, not coursework. It was actually off coursework. And um, then during our SWEP, we had this like coding sessions where they called like someone that could code to introduce us into coding and AI, right? And back then, not like many people took it really seriously, right? So I mean, there were it was a bit of mix here and there, right? But at the time, I really like I found this interest in it, like so I can use AI to do stuff. I mean, I can build models and I can get to predict stuff. So it was really interesting for me, and I finished from engineering, so I did elect to be precise, just like Zilyn, and yeah, I found this kind of synergy that okay, so data science AI, I can actually relate it to what I was doing in school at the time. Yeah. Um, so when I attended my first boot camp, so I mean, there's a lot of backstory to to how I started essentially. But then this is like boot camp, so there were like community stuff and several other like seminars, webinars, and stuff that I attended back then. But that boot camp that I attended was one of my pivotal changes, right, to my data science journey. Um, and fast forward to early 2020. I mean, 2020 was a good year for everybody. I mean, in the software space, especially if you're learning something, because like there was a lot of time off school. Well, maybe not for everybody, but I mean, for most folks, there was a lot of time off school. So it was a time for me to grow as well. Um, so early 2020, I became active on Zindi. And Zindi is essentially a platform where I do a lot of competitive data science. So they are like they host competitions, hackathons. So when I learn stuff, because I don't just like to learn for learning's sake, right? So when I learn stuff, I actually go to Zindi to actually implement those stuff I've learned, right? So if I'm not doing project, I'm probably doing an hackathon, trying to see how I can compete against top folks in the AI space, right? And in mid 2020 as well, um, I also like started doing projects, right? So I mean, very small project like building a small recommender system to more advanced projects like doing computer vision, face recognition, face detection, and lots more, right? And there was this site I found really interesting. I know they still exist, but I think they are very big now. Per image search by Dr. Adrian Rosebrook then, and he had like lots of tutorials, like tons of tutorials there. We'll just be doing projects and he would like drop the codes and steps to implement. So I would essentially like try to do something else. So if he's doing something like a ball detection, for instance, I would do something else, maybe like a phone detection or a like another object detection essentially. And I would try to then rewrite my own tutorial on how like I did that, right? And Dr. Adrian also had like this um, caveats, right, in his blogs. I think he still does now, but he doesn't manage per image search anymore. He has sold it. But he has this caveat in his tutorials where he says, "Oh, like feel free to replicate my tutorial, but of course you have to then reference me." Yeah, so I was able to do all of that. I replicated a lot of cool tutorials, right? So I'll implement them in my own way and rewrite an entire blog post on how to do it, right? So I mean that alone for me I was able to learn, right? And also I mean because one interesting thing is it's not just enough to learn, but it's actually the best way to learn is by teaching. I think that's how the slang goes, right? Yeah, so I was able to do all of that, and it really aided my learning experience and my journey as well. And I mean, I started competing on Zindi in like late 2019, not even really like early 2020, actually. So late 2019, early 2020, after my boot camp in 2019. So I was introduced to Zindi and I started competing like that same year. And imagine it was like it was like after like almost a year, so that was like late 2020, that I got to win my first hackathon. And I remember then, I mean, I can never forget that day. It's still on my LinkedIn till now. Like, I still have it like on my featured posts. So I was really excited because I was like, how is it even possible to like win an hackathon, right? So, and I mean, that was like one whole year of learning, intense, study. Because that 2020, I was not doing anything basically, right? No school, nothing. So I was like Python morning, Python afternoon, data science, Python and data science, morning, afternoon, night, right? And yeah, what it did essentially for me was to help me build my confidence, help me build my skills. And if you look at the picture I have like on the slides, you notice it was a Nigerian hackathon, right? So that's an Emoja Hack Nigeria hackathon. So the folks that were allowed to participate on that hackathon at the time um, were Nigerians. So they Zilyn, I mean Zilyn is a worldwide company essentially, right? Where they host like tons of hackathons for different parts of the world, and everyone all over the world can participate. But they usually host this like locked hackathons. Then they still do that now, but very rarely, where like only folks from your country can participate. And yeah, I won second place at the time, and I got a share of this 750K. I think then I got like 200K. I can't remember, Sha. But yeah, that was like my first um hackathon, which then came after a year. And after that hackathon, I was like, oh, that means I can like compete and I can get to win like lots of prizes. So I started like jumping on hackathons, like trying to grow myself. Yeah, I'll share my LinkedIn for sure. Yeah. So and if you look very closely at this picture, this was before, right? Like this should be like same 2020, maybe 2021. I can't remember the year. But if you look at the ranks here, you'd see like 166 out of 452. I mean, it wasn't really bad, but it wasn't really good as well. So if you look at this is 171. Yeah, so this is over 3 years ago. If you, by as I time I took this picture, I've actually taken this picture a while ago as well. So this is 171 out of 749. This is like 216. This is even 216 out of 265. So you can see like I did very bad here, right? So I mean, like the goal there essentially is that um, there is actually a growth phase, right? So you don't just jump into data science, jump into AI, and you are like the best, right? There's always this growth pattern, right? You learn and you grow over time, right? And let me say, fast forward to maybe like I don't know, maybe like a year ago now, like I get like first, second, like on a more steady rate, right? So you can see this like second out of 186, first out of 22, first out of 26, second out of 74, and lots more like that, right? And yeah, so and in as much as I mean, I started like doing lots of hackathon like 2021. I was really doing stuff, building myself in the space, growing myself, doing projects as well, and writing lots of blog posts. And I was at the same time applying for lots of internships, job opportunities and the likes, right? And it wasn't until 2021 till I got my first paid data science internship, right? So I did lots of like stuff. I mean, there were these like free programs where they would say intern, but like no pay, yeah. So it was until 2021 till I got my first paid data science internship. And trust me, I've done a lot of stuff between 2021 and 2024, right? But let me just like fast forward all that, and I'm probably still doing stuff now. Yeah, sure. So there are tons of places where you can participate in hackathons, and I'm sure Raining as a community as well also has like lots of hackathons in store. Yeah, so let me just talk about what I call the beginner's loop. So there are some folks that essentially you're caught up in this loop, right? I mean, I've been there as well, right? You finish a course on Coursera, next you move to a course on edX, same course, like no difference. When you are done, you take the same course again on Udemy. Then when you are done, oh, someone tells you, there's data camp. Oh, data camp is like the in thing now. So you finish your Udemy course, then you move to data camp. And after data camp, you are back again to Coursera. And before you know it, you just keep taking like courses on and on and on and on and on. And you are not actually doing anything, right? So I usually like to refer to the term as called the beginner's loop, where you just keep learning, right, without actually doing real stuff. And of course, some of the challenges or stuff that cause it um, is, fear of failure, right? You want to like get a job, and you're scared that, oh, I want to actually know this stuff really well. So you want to keep learning and learning and learning, right? And lack of reward application as well. So those downtimes come because you are not encouraged enough that you can actually solve real world problems with your skills, right? Another challenge as well is like setting unrealistic goals, right? Some folks say, oh, like 6 months, I want to start earning 2K USD. Like, I'm just starting Python now, and you want to start earning 2K like in the next 6 months. I mean, that's a really ambitious goal, but it's probably also unrealistic, right? Um, and also there are like several other challenges like no learning path. You are just learning haphazardly, and you are not actively engaged in the community. Right. So what would you need to do, or what would you advise, or what will I advise rather for you to do? One, I would say stop taking courses, right? So as I love to say it, I would say just take one course. One course is all you need, right? Just take one single course on your data science AI, right? It can be on Udemy, it can be on Coursera, it can be on edX Data Camp. Any one of those platforms is actually fine, right? You only need one course, right? And when you learn that, start teaching what you already know, right? So, like, implement, write blog posts. If you are doing projects, your projects are cool, show them on LinkedIn, right? Write blog posts, put those posts on Medium, right? And like start teaching, what you know essentially, right? When you are learning as well, think about practical applications, right? So you don't just want to learn, but you want to learn like what is going to be useful in the industry, right? How you are going to apply what you have learned in the real world, right? Another very interesting or important tip as well is to get an internship, right? So when I started my journey early on, I already started like gunning for internships. Trust me, internships are hard. I'm not saying they are not hard, right? But like when you keep trying, like you eventually get an internship one day. And to tell you about like my story affirms to you like because that was my first paid data science internship, and it was quite interesting because um the CEO at the time like saw my blog posts, like I saw my blog post, my LinkedIn post, right, where I was just posting about stuff I was learning and all. And she was like, oh, Victor, you do data science, like machine learning and stuff. I said yes. And she was like, oh, okay, come around and like let's see if you can do an internship with us. And like that was it essentially. Right. I got a 6 month internship with them, and I was still in school at the time. After my 6 month internship, I didn't show all that. I got a full-time role, and I was with them for almost another year, right? Even as a student, I was still working full-time before I then like resigned and yeah, got better offers and did all that stuff, right? So internships are actually good because you get to work with a real team. You get to see how people work in real life settings, right? Which, trust me, is quite different from projects and hackathons, right? Yeah, but then it gives you that level of exposure. Also, I would say, whilst you are still gunning for internships, maybe you are targeting, I don't know, you're probably ambitious, so you're targeting Google, Microsoft, and the likes, right? So when you're targeting those guys, right, try to see how you can boost up your portfolio, right? You've taken a course now, do lots of hackathons, right? Do competitions, try to make sure that you are, making a name for yourself, right? You are posting your wins, right? You are trying to show your network that you really know what you are doing, right? And you can make the most out of it. So when they say you should stop taking courses, I still take courses, but not really like large courses like that. I just take like short courses and maybe crash courses when I want to learn how to do stuff, right? So your quick go-tos as a programmer is, the internet essentially, right? So you have GitHub, you have Stack Overflow, you have Google, right? So you don't need to keep taking courses over and over and over again, right? When you want to do stuff, just go to Google search engine, how to do XYZ, right? You learn how to do it, you do it, and you implement it in your project. It's as simple as that, right? There's a saying that like programmers do the 60% code copying or something like that, and maybe 40% reasoning. I can't remember how that quote is. But essentially, what I'm trying to say is, um, as long as you've taken a full course, right, in any, programming, data science course, ML course, like whatsoever, right, you need to stop and, start thinking about projects and implementations. Okay, so when I was showing my profile earlier, right, I wrote like DS competitor at the side. That's because like I'm very big on data science competitions. And the reason why I really love data science competition is because it it helped me to go fast in the data science space, right? And I've written some of like the key highlights of why I think you should start like looking into doing hackathons, looking into doing data science competitions if you have learned data science, and if you have not, right, try to see if you can even join like pro or folks and see if you can learn from them, right? So for me, I got to learn the data science basics faster. One, of course, number two, the reward system drives you to do more. So when you see that, oh, okay, there is like 10,000 US dollars on the line, I mean, you definitely want to see how you can make the best of it, right? Especially when you see that you're so close. And number three, you get to test your skills against top talent. So, okay, so you've taken a full course, right? You're done with your NVIDIA, in quotes, ML, XYZ course, right? So how do you actually test your skills, right, against other top talents, right? So competitions and data science hackathons help you to do all that, right? So, and of course, when you see that, oh, you're actually doing well, right, it gives you that level of confidence and it shows you that, oh, you actually know what you're doing, right? And what you have learned is actually relevant in the space, right? And of course, as well, it helps you to build your profile and attract potential employers, just like myself, right? And of course, you get to network with like-minded people. I have a lot of friends that I've met in the competitive space that I've not met real life. I mean, even both here in Nigeria and of course in several parts of the world, I've met lots of people. Even there are some people still in Nigeria. I've not met them physically, but like we talk almost like every time, now and then, because like I got to network with them. And of course, like opportunities come out of all this stuff. And who knows, right? The sky is your starting point. Yeah, so I was about to end on this note, but I won't be able to let you guys go if I don't talk about community, right? So let me just talk about the reality of the data science ecosystem in like 5 minutes, right? So there's I was telling so much earlier, right? The largest, is it the largest, how do I call it? Okay, don't let me say grossing, I think it's called largest. So the largest oh, no, no, no! I'm not a writer, Abiodun. Oh, Abiodun is on the call. Nice to have you around. I'm not a writer, obviously, but I definitely like write lots of blog posts. So you don't need to be a writer before you write blog posts. Yeah. So yeah, there's a fun fact I was about to say, and I was about to say that the biggest startup that has been sold in Africa is not fintech, because a lot of guys look at fintech and they're like, oh, the biggest startups we have right now is fintech. Paystack was sold for 200,000. Is it 200? Is it 200,000? I can't remember now. I think it's 200,000 US dollars, right? Main one was sold for almost 320,000 euros, right? But the biggest startup that has been sold ever in Africa is called InstaDeep. And InstaDeep is an AI startup. So that shows you that, I mean, we are really doing stuff in Africa. And if you're in the AI ML space, it means that you really have a potential to grow as well. Because some folks are like, oh, I mean, like guys that are doing AI are only guys abroad. Like Africans are not really doing AI. So, I mean, that fun fact should actually, bust your myth. That the biggest. Oh yeah, the name of the startup is called InstaDeep. So you can Google it. It's called InstaDeep by Karim Bengwa, and that's why I have his name here. So he usually like makes these quotes, which I'm about to reference. So if you go to Asia, right? So the likes of China, South Korea. I mean, all those countries. Let me not mention them so that in case they are listening on my call, on my call right now, right? So if you look at those countries, right, the people that actually drive AI ML are the governments, right? So if you go to folks like China, it's the government that is driving AI, right? And public institutions. They are the ones pouring money into it. They are the ones, building stuff. They are the ones doing really cool stuff in AI. It's the government that does that. If you come over to the Americas, right, North America, South America, etc., it's the tech giants that actually drive that. So the likes of Google, Microsoft, Tesla, etc., right? They do that in the States, right, and several other parts of the American continent. If you go to spaces like Europe, right, you find out that it's private individuals that actually have access to resources that are actually driving AI. So private individuals, named folks, professors in private institutions. Those are folks that actually do great stuff in the AI space, and they're actually like driving the AI ecosystem in the continent, right? But what of Africa? When you come to the African space, what drives AI is not tech giants, it's not private individuals, it's not the government, definitely not the government. But hopefully I think we are getting lots of support now, right? But it's the startups communities that actually drive the AI ecosystem, right? So that means that if you are not in the community, if you are not in an African community, it means that you are not ready for growth in the African space, right? And of course, for me as well, community is actually a very big thing, and that's why I mean I love honoring community invitations where you get to grow, you get to interact with like-minded folks, you get to ask questions, and I mean the possibilities and the benefits are endless, right? So I mean there are lots of communities. Of course, we are in raining at the moment. There's a deep learning in Daba, just several other communities around the African AI ecosystem that helps you grow. Yeah. So that said, I think I would just like love to encourage you guys to keep working in the community. Try to see how you can attend events, right? Grow with the community. When there are events, right, try to attend. When there are hangouts, when there are like meetups, and when they are calling people to come and teach AI, right? Volunteer, right? Because the community would help you grow. Right. So what now? Let me try to wrap up. Right. I'll just leave you guys with these three words. Right. So keep learning, keep building yourselves, and obviously keep winning. So the sky is your starting point. Yeah. So thank you so much for listening. I hope you're able to get one or two insights. I'm happy to take questions. So back to you, Zilyn. Oh, okay. I'll do that right now. I'll try to do that right now. Drop it in the chat. Yeah, yeah. So the name of the startup is called InstaDeep. So you can just Google it. It's currently the highest ever sold startup in Africa. I mean, like, obviously, InstaDeep is an African startup, right? Started in Africa, and then sold off to um, what's the name of the company that bought them? I think it was BioNTech. I can't remember. But they actively supported in the development of the COVID-19 virus. So yeah, so I mean, while you might argue that it seems like Africa is not really in the AI space, yeah, so that should shock you to know that the highest ever sold African startup is actually an AI startup. So it means that AI can actually succeed in Africa as a startup. Yeah. Oh, okay. Yeah, yeah. I'm happy to do that. So, I mean, yeah. So, essentially, as I've said earlier, the first thing you want to do is if you're serious about your learning journey, you want to first join the community. Even before you start learning, like that's like the first thing you should probably do, right? Because the community would help you when you have questions, when you need a roadmap, just like you're asking me now. There are folks that have already, gone ahead of you. They have a well-detailed roadmap, and they are able to, send to you on the group, right? There are also folks that you get to, meet up with physically, locally, maybe like one-on-one, and you get to like interact with them, right? So yeah, back to the roadmap. You can just take a full course. To me, any platform is okay, whether it's Udemy, whether it's Coursera, whether it's data camp, etc. All you need to do is take a full course, right? Python for data science, right? When you are done with that, if your course module includes um, machine learning, and deep learning, right? You can then jump into all that, right? And when you are, in the course of your learning journey, I'll advise you also, teach what you learn, right? So when you learn stuff, share. So if you can't write a blog post, maybe you can just share on your LinkedIn or your WhatsApp status, but just keep, sharing, right, what you've learned in one way or the other, right? And of course, you also want to find ways that you can apply what you have learned, right? So the next thing for you is probably start, as when you're done with your course, you probably want to start gunning for internships, right? Whilst gunning for internships probably take long to get, right? Unless you are probably lucky. So why are going for paid I mean paid internships now, not like internships you do and you don't get paid, right? So you can obviously gone for unpaid internships, right, to grow yourself. But whilst you are going for paid internships, you can also leverage competitions, hackathons, to win funds and grow your portfolio in the space. While doing side projects and showing off your skills as well. Yeah, so that's my own 1 or 2 cents on that. For how you can join communities, I think Zilyn, you could take that while I try to share some links on hackathons. Yeah, that's correct. All right. Yeah, thank you so much for having me as well. Okay, I think someone is asking for the community links. Yeah. You can confirm if it's the. Yeah, I just shared one in the chat, the one for the raining network landing page. So I don't know if that works. Awesome, awesome. All right. Yeah. Bye, guys. Bye, Zilyn. Yeah, you too.